Harold Lloyd's films were about the need to succeed. The Freshman was Lloyd's most successful comedy.
He had tremendous energy. He was a perfectionist. He really wanted to he had to excel in everything.
The last moments of the game, the last moments of the film. Harold is a college boy, desperate to prove himself a hero. Years later, the end of The Freshman became the start of Lloyd's last film. And at 53, he could still play the college boy.
Harold Lloyd was one of these guys, we all know somebody like this, who, when he gets older, seems young.
I want to see you. What? I want to see you as soon as you get through college.
He never grew up, did he? He was a kind of a Peter Pan.
Who are you? I didn't quite catch the name. I may not look just like you, but I have opportunity. Oh.
In his last years, Lloyd helped to bring up his granddaughter, Suzanne.
I actually called him Daddy. He wanted to be a grandfather, but didn't want to hear I'm a grandfather. I mean, youth. Still meant a lot to him.
The presence of young people and young ideas meant a lot too in his later life. One of his closest friends was Rich Carell, son of Charles Carell of Amos and Andy radio fame, now a film director himself.
People used to say to me, well, what's Harold Lloyd really like? I always thought he was a lot like the character in the films because he, even at an older age, was very youthful, pretty high speed most of the time, had a great sense of humor, and was always up to something. It was always up to a joke, or always up to pulling a trick on somebody. And he was a lot like the guy in the movies.
It's the rush hour. No seat for Harold's girl. Lloyd kept control of all the films he made, but in his vault they were in a state of disarray.
And when we were in the vault, we said, look, would you mind terribly if Dave and I put this back in order for you? So the negatives are in one vault, and the prints are in another, and the nitrate's in a safe place away from the rest of it. And he said not only would he not mind, but he would pay us to do that, which was unbelievable. It was a great gift. We couldn't believe it. And then in the course of it, we would start to screen the pictures, and he would attend the screenings, and he'd say, you see, that's the thing. That's where we did this, and that's where we did that.
Their enthusiasm delighted Lloyd, who feared people had lost interest in his films.
In the original days, the name Harold Lloyd brought lots of people into the theater, and they expected a quality product and got it. But later on, when those films sat in a vault for 30, 40 years, and people didn't know who they were, he was nervous about how the films would be accepted.
So nervous that he allowed the films out only for special occasions, like the opening by Princess Alexandra of Cinema City in London in 1970. Lloyd needn't have worried. New audiences were always captivated by his work from the silent days, not only by the comedy, but by the filmmaking skill of scenes like this. In the peaceful Isle of Paradiso, revolution is fomented by a renegade American. Oblivious to all this is Harold, a rich American tourist. Why Worry was Lloyd's last picture for Hal Roach. Roach was producing a series of children's comedies called Our Gang, and Lloyd made this cameo appearance on the set of Why Worry as a favor to his old friend. They'd started together in Hollywood 8 years before. But Roach was now too busy with series like Our Gang to devote much time to Lloyd. With Lloyd virtually running his own affairs, they decided to part. As Lloyd himself recalled,
it was the nicest separating it could possibly have been. The relationship was splendid.
The separation from Roach was preceded by a wedding to his leading lady, Mildred Davis. They were married in 1923, and Mildred retired from the screen. The new leading lady was Jabina Ralston, who'd play in 6 Lloyd features. In their second film together, she's about to marry the wrong man, a man Harold knows is a bigamist. Harold is desperate to stop the wedding.
Well, the Girl Shy Chase was the heart of the entire picture. Harold decided to make that film based on the chase, and he was very, very proud of it.
In most of his films, Harold has a handicap. In Girl Shy, it's a crippling stutter. Harold commandeers anything that moves.
He was doing a bit on the back of a fire engine that was running away. He was trying to get to the wedding and trying to go on the back of a fire engine at this point, and he started to grab the end of a hose that came loose in his hands, and so he was pulling and pulling and pulling.
It had a big brass coupling on it, so it came loose and hit me in the forehead, and down I went rolling on the pavement and out for probably about 5 minutes. Somebody asked me if it was all right after, said I could have got along without it, but...
So they patched up his head, which had a big bump on it, and they went right back to shooting. And they went back to shooting the same gag.
Lloyd lavished his resources on this, his first independent production.
Harold did a lot of it himself. Hanging off the streetcar was really Harold. When it came to the buckboard with the horses running, well, most of that was done by a rodeo stunt driver who was real good with horses. Again, you know, the insurance company was saying, well, you can do some of the stuff, Harold, but not all of it. And so he didn't want to be foolish because he was producing the pictures. But he did a lot of it.
Working on the streets of Los Angeles was a challenge to Lloyd's filmmaking skill. He and his team devised a mobile tower for high angles. And to achieve a dramatic low angle, the cameraman was placed in a manhole on Grand Avenue, concealed by this box, which you can see in the master shot. Lloyd's chase was a strong influence on the chariot race in Ben-Hur the following year. A famous film of the 60s had a similar scene.
If you look at the end of The Graduate, it's